Welcome to a study of the Gospel of Matthew, Part 2, Lesson 22, The Triumphant Messiah. Matthew 28, verses 1 through 20. Section 1, The Resurrection. Matthew 28, 1 through 10. At dawn on Sunday morning, the two Marys went to look at the tomb. One was Mary Magdalene, but whether the other was the mother of James and Joseph or the mother of Zebedee's sons is unclear. And since that's the only information we have, it will remain unclear. You can speculate if you want to, but your speculations and mine together add up to zilch. Matthew intends for his readers to understand that the two Marys actually witnessed the resurrection. Now you have to read the text pretty carefully to get that, but it happened while they were observing the tomb. And therefore, they actually were witnesses to the resurrection. But notice, they did not see what happened, only the results. The resurrection occurred simultaneously with the great earthquake, which demonstrated the presence of the Father. More than once in the Bible, starting in the Old Testament, the presence of God is symbolized by an earthquake. It was on Mount Sinai, it was other places. Also, the angel of the Lord is always a sign of the actual presence of the Father. The key to full understanding of what had occurred was the words, "He is not here, He is risen." I love the Orthodox Easter phrase. And one believer says, "He is risen." And the other believer responds, "He is risen indeed." That is the gospel. Death could not hold him. Thanks be to God the Father, death could not hold him, and therefore death cannot hold either you or me as those who have placed their trust in him. Note the emphasis given to Jesus' prediction that he would be raised from the dead. This signifies that he was fully involved in his resurrection. Even as the Father forsook him on the cross, Jesus, as it were, raised himself. It was not possible for death to hold him. Somewhere in C.S. Lewis's voluminous writings, he said, we really don't know what would happen if a perfectly righteous man died. It may be that the very righteousness of Jesus made it impossible for him to stay dead. It is something that might justify some meditation. Again, it's one of those interesting things that we will never know for sure. It is significant that the two Marys were commissioned to be the first to proclaim the good news of his resurrection to others. Once, when I was making a study for the Oak Hills Church about the place of women. I did intensive study of this. The first gospel preachers were the two Marys. Now, that irks some of us machismo males. But you know, it is forever true. They were there first. We males trailed along behind, if you'll pardon the sarcasm, like good little boys. As they were on their way to carry out this task, Jesus appeared to them, and they bowed to the ground before him. They were not only the first to bear witness to his resurrection, they were first to worship the glorified, risen Lord. He told them not to be afraid. It appears that the first reaction of Jesus' followers to the resurrection was fear. He told the women to go tell his followers to meet him in Galilee. Section 2, the guards report, Matthew 28, 11 through 15. The guards who had been guarding the tomb went to the chief priests and reported everything that happened. It is ironic that they were supposed to be guarding the tomb from outside threats, but they were powerless to prevent the one in the tomb from coming out. How often do we face the wrong direction in fighting the enemies of the gospel? To cover their failure to prevent Jesus' resurrection, the chief priests paid the guards to say that his followers had come and stolen his body from the tomb, the very thing they were there to prevent. This concocted story became the standard Jewish response to the resurrection. Section 3, the Great Commission, Matthew 28, 16 through 20. Jesus' statement that he had been given all authority in heaven and on earth demonstrates that he had become the promised messianic king in the lineage of David. His promise to be with his followers until the end of this age informs all believers that his rule will last until the end of the present creation. Because he had been given the rule on earth and in heaven, he commissioned his followers to continue the work he had begun as long as this creation continues to exist. Making this lesson your own. The theme of this lesson is that Jesus and all those who follow him have won the victory over the world, sin, and death. Thus, the way to make this theme your own is to teach all people to obey the will of Christ, secure in the knowledge that the full power of your resurrected Lord will be there to enable you to do it. I don't know whether you realize it or not, but this last lesson was only a single-page outline. It strikes me that we sometimes want there to be more history, more turmoil, more combat when God simply says, as he did in the beginning, let there be light, and light already was. God said, let life triumph, and life triumphed. What a great God we serve. Amen.